Hello and welcome to My Xbox and Me episode. I don't remember the number, but you're not shocked by that because let's be honest, I forget the numbers all the time. The one thing I do remember though is I am now 30. I am not on this week's My Xbox and Me, but I couldn't miss a week just because it's my birthday. I'm not around. I'm not here. I'm working hard and taking a little break. Only 4 days. Back for next week. Don't stress. But enjoy this week's episode with obviously the one and only Too Fresh Crush and Mr. Matt P Video. Yeah, it's been my birthday. My birthday was last night. I'm extremely tired. They did the podcast without me. Enjoy it.
Hello and welcome back to My Xbox and Me. It's not MC Fixer, although that hello may have thrown you. It's me, Matt P Video, and I'm joined by Too Fresh Crash. How you doing, Crash?
I'm doing good. I was gonna give you a little bit of flack for the hello because
Oh yeah, you didn't think it was a good hello?
like it came straight out of Fix. No,
Oh.
it was straight.
Well,
if that was your goal to sound like Fix, you knocked it out of the park.
I wanted to fool the people. Of course, MC Fixer not here. You should have, if all plans have gone according to plan, you should have just heard from MC Fixer. He should have let you know what's happening this week. He still hasn't missed the show. I think that's safe to say. Still hasn't missed the show.
Yeah. Well,
He still hasn't missed the show.
We'll let him have it.
But it is just me and Crash here with you today. Remember, you can watch the show live or get it early on patreon.com/MCFixer for an undisclosed amount of money. I just don't know the amount of money. I'll be honest with you. I don't know. Is it at $3? Is it at $5? Is it at $1?
I can't tell you.
I couldn't tell you either. But I'm sure two people who could tell you are Patreon producers Aaron Guard and F&H Paul. They'll know because they're doing it. And we love them for it. And we respect them for it. Slow news week. Pretty slow news week, but still fantastic show lined up for you. Trust me. Am I selling it well enough, Crash?
I believe it.
Story number 1 today, ladies and gentlemen. Discord is coming to Xbox. That's right. You heard it here first. Actually, you didn't, because you've been hearing it on the internet for months at this point, it feels like. Connect Your World's Discord voice chat comes to Xbox consoles. For Xbox insiders, get ready to connect your Xbox, get ready to connect with your Xbox Discord friends and community on Xbox Discord voice chat coming to Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One consoles, and of course, you'll be able to chat to your Discord friends on PC. This news comes to you from Xbox.com itself. I was going to credit the writer, but it's Mr. Xbox. He's the one telling us this. Crash, are we excited? What does it mean for the industry at large?
Industry's completely changed, This completely changes it. Clearly, this means that Xbox is buying Netflix, right? That's what this means.
Yeah,
no,
Sony are going under.
I think this is really good. I think for a while now, I know certainly me and Fix have mentioned it, that compared to Discord, like Xbox parties just fallen so far behind in quality. When at one point as far as gaming went, I think it was one of the leading platforms for voice chat, especially because if you looked at other consoles, there wasn't really an option. And on PC, you had like TeamSpeak and stuff that wasn't super easy to use. I remember at one point people were using Zoom and stuff like that. So to come to a point where it's now Discord is as big as it is and easy to use, and seeing it come to Xbox is really dope.
Yeah, 100%. I wonder what sort of level of... I'm assuming the entire Discord experience will be available on Xbox. You'll be able to jump into your communities and the channels that are in there and all those bits and bobs.
So the way it works
here we go.
is you still need Discord on your phone or your PC.
Okay.
So I don't know exactly how the prompt works, but the idea is that you join it on your phone or your PC, and then you get a prompt on Xbox, or you do something to join it through your Xbox. So you still need that outside source, but you can use your mic and stuff like that on Xbox, which is beneficial, but it's still some hoops. It is the early stage. It is Xbox Inside right now.
Sure.
I'd assume we're going to be seeing a variant on coming to PlayStation at some point, and I wonder if there'll be like sort of a 2.0 of this system or whatever when that rolls around as well, to sort of unify across the board.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Yeah, I remember seeing stories of this coming to PlayStation as well. In my brain, when you said that and there were these workarounds and hoops, I was like, just front the cash, Microsoft, and buy them. Just buy Discord and integrate it fully and make it a whole thing. Bin off Teams That'll
Yeah.
be the next step, won't it? They'll replace Xbox Party Chat with Teams.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That'll be the
I'm
terrifying
surprised
next
they didn't
step.
replace it with Skype. Just bring back Skype for Xbox Party Chat.
How did Skype drop the ball so hard in this pandemic? Before the pandemic, people were openly saying like, "I'll Skype you." I mean, this is a bit
Yeah.
before the pandemic, like 5-6 years ago. Like
Yeah.
it had become the verb, which is
Yeah.
shockingly difficult to do as a brand.
I think at that point Skype was just it was irrelevant. It already fell off.
And now
And
people are
Zoom
saying,
came in. Zoom came in right away.
I know.
Away. They wasted no time.
It was
They're
incredible.
like, this is our market.
how quickly
were
people started saying, "I'll Zoom you." Insane.
Not a game conversation, but I'd imagine that they had been working on this tech, and the pandemic came. At first, they were like, "Oh man, the pandemic's here," and then they realized, "Wait, everybody's working from home.
Holy shit.
This is huge for us." Yeah.
It's definitely an interesting one. I 100% see the benefit of this as well, right? Like,
Yeah.
Xbox is just unifying this PC to Xbox experience, right? And if you have a group of friends that are big PC gamers now, and the whole thing has always seemed very daunting to you, well, great, you can just jump in on your Series S now, and you're away, right?
Yeah, I have some more casual friends that I play with. They'll play like that I play Smite with, and they'll play like Assassin's Creed or something like that, one game throughout the whole year or whatever. And we use Discord to talk. We don't use Xbox Party Chat and stuff like that.
Right.
So it is a case of like Discord's already there, and if you're innately adding it to your platform, also the more cross progression gets bigger. Something like Discord becomes more of a necessity to
100%.
add it into the system. Also becomes a selling point. It's like, hey, PlayStation doesn't have this on the console. Nintendo doesn't have this on the console, which Nintendo's a completely different conversation.
They'll never have it.
It is absolutely not. It is a tick up for Xbox in that conversation as well, which is really nice for them.
Absolutely. I wonder how long it will be before we see it on PlayStation. Do you think it's 1-in-1, or do you think it's some time before we see it on PlayStation?
Well, it is on Xbox Inside right now, and I
Yes.
saw a lot of people equating it to like a full release, and it's not
Which
a full
isn't, no.
release. Yeah, it is a beta, but also as far as like Xbox has had the Discord thing where like you can show people what games you're playing and stuff like that. It's had some sort of Discord integration for a while now, and Sony just recently got that. So I wonder if like they've been working on backend stuff for this for a long time to get this to work properly on Xbox. But I would assume that it's not a one-to-one. I would assume that it takes time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. And it'll be interesting to see what changes on both the Xbox platform and Discord platform over the coming weeks and months. And to lead into that, we have a question from Paul Despawn, who says, Xbox and Discord just announced that Discord will be available soon, on Xbox. How excited are you to be able to link to Discord for party chat? And what else would you like to see? Now, obviously, we've already just talked about it's not going to be quite that simple as party chat is on the Xbox. But yeah, what features do you want to see kind of merge or come across or happen here as Discord comes to Xbox?
I've seen a lot of people actually mentioning the screen sharing aspect of it, to be able to screen share whatever you're doing on Xbox. And Xbox does have the streaming capability, so I do think that would be something kind of interesting to do. I don't know how useful something like that would be, right?
Well, it's been on PlayStation for a while, right? The share play feature, which would let you do exactly that. It would let you screen share what you're playing to your PlayStation party, whatever, and then you'd be able to like virtually pass the controller to somebody else in there. I've never really used it or seen how well it's used.
It's a little different.
Okay.
But same ballpark. I was talking more so people were talking about like the screen share feature on Discord, like on PC.
Oh, so you could watch whatever they're doing on their PC.
Yeah. Like what you're talking about would be an interesting way to like use that hardware in that system.
To go back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah, but I would imagine there's some sort of latency and stuff like that. I also don't know how well that actually works on PlayStation, because I remember that being announced. I don't think I remember anybody actually talking about it or using it.
It's one of those things. It's been in there for years. I remember when it was first announced, me trying to do it with Emma when we were long distance. I'm always reluctant to say that because it was like a 2-hour car ride, which for Americans is just not long distance. But when we were long distance, back when it first kicked off, she lived in a particularly terrible place for internet. And so we tried it once and we're like, this is garbage, and never went back to it. But it's been a hell of a long time since then, probably 5 or 6 years. And so I would imagine on my internet now, with me cloud gaming and stuff all the time, I would imagine the workload is relatively similar, and it's pretty fantastic for all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if a feature like that came over down the line. And yeah, the point that you were saying about sort of screen sharing your PC and being able, for me on my Xbox, being able to see your PC screen share is an interesting point that I hadn't thought about. What sort of use cases are there for that, though? What do you use that for now?
The only time I use it with my friends when we're on Discord is when one of us gets in late and we had already started a match or whatever. And it's like, hey, you can watch us play this match.
Yeah. Okay.
That's really the only thing I can think of. I could imagine it actually not being horrible for people who run tournaments and stuff like that.
Yeah.
To be able to screen share from consoles.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't see a lot of uses on Xbox specifically for a lot of the Discord features, unless you want to add like an innate like Discord app where you can go through the text channels and all that stuff on Discord, which you might already be able to do. I haven't really messed with the Discord stuff on Xbox. I don't think you can. But that's a possibility. I don't really see a lot of stuff. I think for me it's just streamlining the way you join the voice chats. Cause like you hopping onto your mobile and doing stuff. That honestly reminds me of what Nintendo did with their party chat, except I think you had to have the mic plugged into the phone. So it's an improvement because you can use your Xbox mic that you already have.
It's 100% improvement. Like I will often move my Xbox from my living room where it is now to in here. Like if I'm streaming, I'll need to move it in here so I can stream. And I've had situations before where I remember when the Back for Blood beta came out and I wanted to play with Fix. And I was like, well, he's in Discord with a bunch of people on PC. I can do it on Xbox Party Chat, which I can't get to work, obviously, because he's in Discord. I could plug a mic into my phone, and I did do that. I plugged these, actually, into my phone, because the wired mic on these is typically very good. But they said it was just garbage, echoey, sort of in my living room, so I was like, fuck it, fine, I'll bring my Xbox in here. And so it was a bit of effort. And so for that one use case that happened 9 months ago, it would have helped me out.
Well, one of the times, I think it was when we were streaming the Rocket Blade Point. It might have been another game. You're like, it might have been Fortnite. You were like, well, where are we doing Xbox Party Chat? Are we doing Discord?
Yeah. Okay.
Now it wouldn't really matter. It's like, we'll do Discord if you're next to your PC. You're next to your PC. If you're in the living room, you're in the living room. And that doesn't really matter anymore. And I'm sure for a lot of people that fixes a lot of the stuff, because I know my friends that I play Smite with, they have their AirPods on or whatever while they're playing, or their headphones plugged into their phone while they're using it. And now you don't really need to do that, and it streamlines that whole process. I think overall this is just nice streamlining and nice quality of life stuff that I'm sure will go underappreciated in like 100%. A year's time.
Well, especially in now that it's in Xbox Insiders, right? Like so many people just won't even notice it or use it, and I bet a huge majority, or maybe not a huge majority, but a lot of people on Xbox probably don't even know what Discord is. Like they're the people playing FIFA and COD and stuff who buy the Xbox every year or PlayStation, whatever, and are playing those kind of games, probably don't have any sort of idea what Discord is or need for it. And so
I do wonder what the quality's like. If it's more along the lines of quality for Xbox Party, if there's any loss in quality from Discord to using it on Xbox. Because I think the big thing for me with also wanting it to be on Xbox is at the time, and I don't know if Xbox Party like quality's changed, but it was pretty bad compared to Discord a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And obviously time's passed, and I'm sure they've improved it to some degrees, but is it noticeably different? And I hope that quality still is there on Xbox. But even if it's not, it is still nice to have that easy to talk with people on PC and other platforms and things like that.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things. It's in the insider program now for a reason, right? It's a beta test, and you'd hope that if it is poor quality right now, it will improve. But I'm sure that me or you will test this over the next few weeks, and maybe we'll let you guys know if there are any major issues with it. Although I'm sure it'll probably be fine. If it's reached this stage, it's usually in a pretty decent shape. So yeah, it'll be exciting to see what else comes of that. So let's move on then to checking the podcast reviews. That's the next thing in the list, Fix. Fix? I'm so sorry. I wish he was here. I thought he was for a second. What I was going to say is I can't check the UK reviews because I don't have that kind of access. I don't have the keys. But, Crash, do you have the keys to the US
Fun
podcast?
fact, you don't need keys.
Oh, I
You
can
just
just
need to
look.
open the podcast app and you
Oh,
can look
God.
and
But
it
now I got
shows
to
the
do
reviews.
that, and I don't know
No,
if...
you don't have to do it.
I
There's
don't know if
no
I'm capable.
no new US reviews.
Okay. Well, then we'll just pretend there's no new reviews, and we'll head into what's in
No
your
new reviews.
box. Crash, what have you been playing?
I played Multiverses yesterday.
Is it your first time, or did you join the alpha?
I
You were in the alpha.
played the alpha. Yeah. It's so good. It's still held up.
It's so
You know
great.
when you don't play for a while and you're like, was it a honeymoon phase when I played it before? Like it was just a new experience and I enjoyed it. And then I jumped back into it today and I'm like, no, it's just a really good game.
It's great.
There's so many like little features in the game that work so well. I don't know if you've in the game they have like animated banners and stuff like that. I was noticing when you move your cursor across the screen, the banner actually moves based off where your cursor is. And it's a lot of small stuff like that that don't really translate into any sort of gameplay mechanics, but it's just it adds character to the game. All the characters being voiced. I talked about it whenever we talked about the alpha. Is fantastic. That game just plays so well and it's such a fun time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, like I was big into Smash. I say big into it. I was never very good, but I certainly played it a lot. And I think the thing for me that stood out about Multiverses was like, this, I think a little bit more so than Smash. Like for Smash, if you're very, very good, you play a lot of that game in the air and off the stage. In Multiverses, regardless of how good you are, that's how you should be playing the game, for like better or worse, right? Like it really wants you to get off that stage and come back and jump miles and yada yada.
Yeah.
So go on.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and I really enjoyed that, right? Like this like really encouraging you to get out of your comfort zone and try and get better very quickly. And you can still button mash your way through and have a decent enough time, I think. But there's a really interesting viewable skill gap in there, like I know what I need to try and do to get better here, and it takes a lot of work, and I think we'll certainly bump into some people online who are just fucking incredible, but I want to get better at that game.
Yeah, dude, at the end of the alpha, like there were people who were playing Tom and Jerry and Bugs Bunny and Tasmanian Devil that were just so crazy.
I know.
The nice thing is I played I think like 17 or 18 matches yesterday or something like that.
Wow.
I lost no best of threes, but I lost 2 like individual matches.
That's very impressive.
And it was 2v2s, so I was playing with my friend.
It's not even in open beta yet, is it? It's in closed beta, I think.
Technically they're calling it open beta right now, but you can watch a Twitch stream for an hour and get access, or if you were in the previous one, you already have access. Yeah.
I think it's open on the 28th, if I remember. I might be wrong, but I think it is.
I believe that date's correct. But one thing I'm surprised by is the co-op aspect that I didn't think when it was announced. I was like, a co-op aspect, and the first time I played it, I was also like, this game doesn't feel great. I don't like having to buff teammates and whatever. But when you play it and you're playing with a friend, it works surprisingly well. They've done some balance changes. They've removed certain characters' cooldowns. I think the only characters that have significant cooldowns now are the mage characters. So it would be Bugs Bunny and Tom and Jerry. I haven't played the full roster, but that's what it feels like. Because I know Harley Quinn, they completely removed one of her cooldowns, and her other cooldown's a lot shorter now.
Really? Oh, interesting. Oh, well then, look, I mean, that's like, for me, that's like really good news. Like, I like when in a game like Smash Bros, and Smash Bros isn't great at this, to be honest with you, where they're constantly like changing it, where they're like, they're changing this character, and as long as they're communicating that well to that hardcore fan base, which I'm sure they will be, like, that's a really interesting aspect of the game, I think, like the constant change in characters. Although I could understand why some people wouldn't like that. You like get so locked into your character, and
when you play Smash, you've essentially been playing the same character since when the game first came out. When your character was first introduced, you're pretty much playing the same character with like slight changes. Where this, it feels like they're constantly changing stuff as far as like the small bit we've seen of the game so far. I will say microtransactions kind of gross.
Oh really? Oh no.
Yeah. it's like none of the microtransactions are necessary, which is nice.
Yeah.
You seem to earn gold at a decent pace, so that's good. But it is $15 for, like, they have the animated Batman skin, and that's $15, or the animated Harley Quinn skin, and a lot of those skins are like $15, which I think is a little bit much. But if the game remains how it is with the free to play and all that, like, I'm sure that's like the pricing can get slightly adjusted, but I still enjoyed it regardless of the microtransaction prices, which kind of irrelevant because I wasn't planning on putting that type of money into the game anyway.
Sure. Can you get the battle pass now in the open beta?
Yes, you can.
And
the
is that
Batman
also
skin
15?
isn't in it. I don't know. I think the battle pass is 10. And the battle pass comes with 2 skins. I think it's 3 skins overall. There's Pajama Finn, a Jake skin, and a Shaggy skin, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, fair enough. I'll need to check it out. I haven't jumped back in, but like you say, when I saw the key drop into my inbox today, actually I don't even think there was a key, because I think on Xbox you just update the game. I think that's what it said.
And you'll be able to launch it. Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
But when I saw that drop into my inbox today, I had that exact same feeling of you. It was like, I really remember liking the alpha. Am I remembering it more fondly than I actually played it? But hearing you say that is very exciting indeed. Anything else you've been playing?
No, that's about it. Nothing new to talk about.
Fair enough. Well, I need to bring up my recent achievements if I'm going to tell you what I played, because there's so much shit that I've been playing that it's quite frankly unreasonable. It was my birthday on Friday. On Saturday morning, we had all these plans for the weekend. Emma tested positive for COVID, and so we stayed in the house and played video games all weekend. Still not a bad weekend. Not the initial plan, but not a bad weekend at all, let me tell you. I beat Tunic, and it's definitely a Game of the Year contender.
You hate it.
You're an
Got
idiot.
it. You hate it.
You're an idiot, Crash.
Why? Why am I an idiot?
Because it's phenomenal. It's not just good. I understand why you didn't get into it. No, you're wrong.
But I never said it was bad.
But you said you couldn't get into it.
I never once negatively talked about the game, and I was assaulted on Twitter, and I want to settle this beef. I was called a dum-dum, and I was greatly insulted.
It's true. I did use the
I never
term
once
dum-dum.
said I never said a negative thing about the game. I only had positive stuff to say about the game. I just said I couldn't get into it.
All I'm saying is, look, you talk shit about Tunic, and you turn into an 8-bit man on my screen, and for all the viewers of the podcast right now, you're 8-bit, and so clearly God hates you as well, and so they've turned you into an 8-bit man, and so you're wrong. No, genuinely, like, for me, Tunic is, I mean, everybody said it, right? It's like Zelda meets Elden Ring or whatever, but it's that, like, it does such a fucking good job of adventure and mystery and discovery, and like every inch of that game is like so well designed. Like, you'll revisit places 3 or 4 times, but now you have different items, so you see the world in a completely different way, and like, it's just fucking great. It's just brilliant. Try it again.
Trust you.
Try it again. I can't believe you're not.
I plan on trying it again. I said I would try it again before the end of the year, and I plan on doing it. I don't think my opinion will change. Because I play the game, and I can tell, like, the game is really, really good.
Yeah.
I can tell that, like, off bat. A lot of the artistic stuff they do, I've talked about, like, the game manual that you unlock, and that's teaching you stuff in the game. And the fact that half of it is in a completely different language, so you still have to, like, figure out stuff.
80%.
I think I think all of that adds to the game and works really well. I just can't get myself to enjoy playing the game.
Wild. Because you enjoyed Death's Door, right?
No.
Oh.
I mentioned that it was the same exact situation with Death's Door, where I didn't enjoy Death's Door.
Oh, well,
so that so I was like, this is going to be my Death's Door this year, where I know it's a good game. It just doesn't resonate with me.
Fair enough. The other game that we played and beat in one sitting, whilst going through, like, Emma had a slight fever, and it's like the hottest day ever in UK recorded history, and so how we got through this in our little fever dream, I don't know, without ripping each other apart. But Escape Academy, a little co-op escape room game that came to Game Pass, probably beat it in like 5 hours, but again, just really fucking good. Really good.
I've heard a lot of good things about Escape Academy.
It's very good. You can play it all single player or co-op. I think it's probably better co-op. Like part of the fun of that, right, is like the oh no, I understand, trying to try and explain it to whoever you're playing it with, and like that's like part of the fun of those escape rooms, isn't it? It tells you to at the beginning of the game keep a pen and paper on hand. You need it. Like it's legit. Those kinds of puzzles. It's great. It's great.
Yeah, I got a good memory. I don't need it.
I think you'd struggle.
Probably. Probably. I 100% would go in like, I can do this all. I don't need a pen and paper. And halfway through, like, what was the symbol I saw earlier?
There is like also a story that kind of runs through it that I think is pretty weak, but that's not why you're in it. Like it's very cliche and very obvious what's going on, and like.
But it's a serviceable story.
It's fine. Like you can opt to go around the school that you end up in and optionally talk to all the people that you start bumping into. And I was like, no, we're not doing this.
No, thank you.
no,
I just
no,
want to
no.
solve puzzles.
Let's just go from level to level to level, and we'll yeah. You're not missing any context. Like nobody says anything remotely interesting or revealing as you're sort of wandering around these optional bits or whatever. But it's great. Check it out. There's no replayability in it because like all the puzzles remain exactly the same every time you play it, and so like even if you fail a level, you'll find yourself like the level might be like 45 minutes long or whatever, or that's a very long one. That's probably one of the longest ones in there, but there is a 45-minute long one in there. But if you fail it and you have like you run out of time, you'll find yourself getting back to that same stage you're at in less than 5 minutes, just because like you know exactly what you're doing, right? You can even like skip some parts of it to get like, because you just don't need to do it. So it's kind of like a good way of it not feeling incredibly frustrating when you fail a 45-minute level. So that's nice. It's worth checking out.
I think I will.
And then I also for my birthday got a Razer Kishi. And I was like, this is going to be great. I'm going to work on the backlog. I'm going to spend hours playing on this while Emma watches TV. And I put about 15 hours into Power Wash Simulator. And that's all I played on it.
I've heard so many people talking about this game out of nowhere. I feel like I got blindsided by this game. Like I didn't even know it was coming out.
It came to Game Pass, like day one in Game Pass, right? Or was it already out and it came to Game Pass? I don't know. But yes, I think you're right. This week it's come to Game Pass and people are talking about it, or last week. People are talking about it. It is exactly what it says on the tin. Like there's no extra interesting gameplay mechanics. There's no storyline of mystery. There's no nothing other than you cleaning up dirty things with a power washer. And yeah, it's fine.
I was so confused by people hyping up this game because a lot of people are really loving Power Wash Simulator.
Sure.
I went up and I looked up gameplay because I was so curious. Like it's got to be something more than just washing houses and stuff like that. And that's literally all it is. And I'm like, power to them. They made a game that I want to say simple, but I don't know if it's simple, that people just really, really love and resonate with.
It's just one of those things like you just can't put it down. It's like it's something that you're doing, like I would almost say in the background, but like you're watching TV or a show you don't particularly care about or whatever, and you're just washing a car. Because why not?
That's what people want to do on their free time.
Yeah, some of the levels are huge and like huge. And one of the first big levels you get to, for some reason on mine, is stuck on 99%. And
you don't know what's missing.
I don't know, because then you can go into like an itemized list, so it tells you everything that's in the level and how clean it is, and it says everything is 100% clean, but my level's on 99%. And so, for that reason, I'm furious.
Horrible game.
Horrible
0
game.
out of 10.
0 out of 10, but I can't stop playing it, and I probably won't stop playing it for at least a while. You can also opt into like co-op, so you could run around with other people. I haven't done that, and I think that would frustrate me. Like, there's a certain, like, every now and again, my ADHD brain will go off, and I'll look back at what I've done. I'm like, what the fuck have I done? Like, I've cleaned, like, a little bit of that over there, and then come over here, and, like, da-da-da. But most of the time, I'm pretty methodical, right? I think that's what it's getting at, right? Like up and down and do the thing, clean the thing. And so, if other people were running around in co-op, just spraying shit all over the place, I think it would annoy me. you know?
I just want you to know if I were to play with you, I'd wash a little bit of everything and never fully clean
Straight the fuck out.
anything.
So I played that. We also played and finished Tell Me Why.
Ooh, what did you think?
Fantastic. Great.
It's really good, right?
It's brilliant.
I want you to know that whatever experience you had with that game, if you played it when it was coming out week by week, it would have been a better experience.
100%. And I think, me and Emma kind of played it in two chunks. So like we played through the first chapter, but that was probably 4 or 5 months ago. And so when she was ill this weekend and we just had time on our hands, we were like, oh, we were supposed to finish this and we really liked chapter 1. Jumped in and we were like, oh, I don't really remember who any of these people are or what we're supposed to be doing here or what the story is kind of. And because it like centers around that the like children's book that the mum writes, it does its previously on in the context of that. And so it's like, and the goblins did this, and the Mad Hat and the Mad... and because it's all like through that lens, I was like, this previously on is actually really not very helpful. Because I was like, I don't know who the bear is and why we're pissed off at him, but we are apparently, so I guess we'll figure that out later on. But yeah, it's great. And I think I will go back and watch your guys' podcast with Laura about it, because I want people to talk to about it, and everybody's kind of done with it, right? Nobody's talking about it anymore. So
yeah, bring it up with when Fix is back next week. I'm sure he'll have stuff to say about
Oh,
it
I'm
as
sure.
well.
I'm sure. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. If you haven't played it, play it, because it's great. And yeah, it's good to be exposed to those other kinds of stories, right? They're just like so not in my wheelhouse. Speaking of, I also started Road 96, which is also fantastic. We haven't finished it, but we're definitely going to, because it's bloody brilliant. And if you haven't played it, go play it.
I've been meaning to start that, but I'm so worried with all the positive reviews that game's getting, or people talking about the game positively, that I'm going to play it and I'm going to start it and I'm just going to absolutely despise it because I don't like walking simulators. So I've been very, very hesitant to start it.
I would say it's more than a walking simulator.
Okay.
So there's one thing that really annoys me, which is when dialogue options pop up, they are attached to the person that you're talking to, regardless of where you are, what they're doing. So they might be walking along a particularly bumpy road, or at one point, drunk and stumbling up a bumpy road. And the dialogue options follow them, and you have to look at the option you want. On PC, maybe this is easier because you're pointing and clicking, but you're trying to like look at the option you want and say the thing you want, and the whole thing is about dialogue options and choices, and so it's quite easy in those moments to fuck it up and say the wrong thing that you didn't mean to say, which is annoying. But that's kind of my only gripe with the game. I think the story at some points is super duper serious and thought-provoking, and in other points complete parody, and like almost too jokey and laughable, and so tonally it kind of wish-washes like that at some points, but it's just really enjoyable and well thought through, and I think the way it's like procedurally generated means my experience will be completely different to yours, will be completely different to a lot of other people's. There are obviously beats that I think everybody hits, and that's kind of the point, but yeah, it's great, and we're really enjoying it, and we keep going back to it.
Okay. I think that and Dusk Falls came out, right?
As Dusk Falls, yeah. So Road 96, I think, came out on PC last year, and Fix played it there.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. As Dusk Falls, brand new, out, I think, today, or tomorrow, or yesterday, or tomorrow.
I think it was yesterday, but it might be tomorrow.
Sure.
I think I'll check both of those out this week.
Maybe go on.
Maybe I'll check out Artful Escape as well, just so I can get a whole bunch of games I'm not gonna like out the way.
Don't hurt me, Crash. Don't do this to me.
I had to. It was just a little funny joke. I'm sure I'll absolutely love Artful Escape, of course.
A hurtful joke. A hurtful, painful joke. We had like an interesting sort of thought, I guess. Not interesting thought. We had a similar thought on As Dusk Falls, which was that we didn't particularly like the kind of unique art style that they were going for, the juxtaposition of seemingly doing car chases in like 3D fluid gameplay, and then everything else being a stop-go motion graphic thing. But it'll be interesting to see what that's like actually in-game, right? I guess it's difficult to tell the trailer.
Xbox has been pushing the game very, very heavy with
Yeah.
a lot of promo for it. So I'm assuming it'll be worst case scenario like an 8 game is the assumption I'm going into it with.
Well, reviews
Which
came
might
out
be a bad
yesterday.
assumption. Yeah.
Do
Do you know what the
No,
Metacritic?
I know that people on my team were editing many reviews for many different brands, but I do not know what any of them came out as because I was off looking after a poorly sick Emma.
It has a 77 on Metacritic on Xbox and 79 on PC.
Oh, so far it's only reviewed by critics. Is that right?
I believe so. There's only 9 reviews right now.
Oh, there we go.
IGN gave it a 9.
Oh, well, there we go. That's pretty positive.
Cool. Yeah.
I think I want to check it out as well. I know it's a game that Emma will like, or like those styles of games are games that we like, so that's cool. And that's everything I've been playing. A smorgasbord of games for you.
Yeah, a lot of games. You came well equipped on a low
packed.
news week. It's fantastic.
Well, mainly because, like I say, I've been stuck in the house on the hottest day of the year, and we don't have aircon, and we needed something to take away the pain from our fever-driven brain.
So, is there like no air conditioning in the UK? I don't know if this is. Should ask this on the podcast.
No, it's a really intriguing Xbox-based question there, Crash. I appreciate that.
I apologize.
No, don't be silly. There is absolutely no aircon, pretty much in households, and because the UK is, and I saw this on the news the other day, so here we go. Here's some fake news for you. But because the UK is typically a very cold place in the winters, most houses and apartment buildings are built to retain heat. And so, actually, we are getting double fucked, if you like. But my office building at work is one of the coldest places on planet Earth, so that's fun.
Oh, that's good. You must enjoy being at work.
Right now, yeah, for these next 4 or 5 days, sure. The rest of the time, it's like a fucking fridge somehow. It's great.
Oh.
It's great. Which means you just can't dress for it, do you know what I mean? Like, do you dress for the commute or do you dress for the office? You just can't win. You just can't win.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're heading into this week's dashboard. Like you said, on a slow news week, but there's still some interesting shit to talk about here. Interesting or just terrible idea, I don't know. Xbox survival game Grounded being adapted into a TV series. This comes from Windows Central. Obsidian Entertainment and Xbox game studio Grounded has already found success in early access, but ahead of the game's full release, there are plans apparently to grow it into other ventures. As shared by Deadline on Monday, Grounded is being adapted into an animated TV series with writer Brent Friedman working on the story of the show. Are we supposed to know who Brent Friedman is? Maybe he's done loads of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this says that he was one of the writers on Star Wars Clone Wars. So I'm pretty sure that's the one that people like. I always get confused which one's the one people like.
I think people like Rebels as well, and I think there's like, I think people cherry pick this Clone Wars that they like. I think it's like, oh, it's season 3 to 7. You know, it's one of those. I think.
Yeah. This is a weird one because like I feel like Grounded, just with the premise of it and what little we played, it could work as a TV show if done proper. But I also could see it being a really bad TV show if done poorly.
Well, I would assume, and I don't know, I would assume we are very much not the target audience for the TV show.
Oh, absolutely.
I would assume it's a very...
That's actually a really good point.
Dora the Explorer-esque sort of, you know, we are like very young kids teaching you about wildlife or some shit, I would have thought. No?
I don't think they'll go that young. I think they'll go for kids like 10 to 15.
Really?
Yeah. Because I'm just thinking about it and I'm like, they'll probably, because like the game has, I want to put in air quotes, horror elements to it.
Sure.
With like the giant spider, which people are like greatly afraid of, which they could do in like a cutesy sort of way for like little kids to like, this is what a spider is. I don't think that's what we'll get out of this. I do think that they'll stick to the story that's there in certain aspects, and I do think you'll see the spider, and the spider will be antagonistic and whatnot. I don't think it'll be quite like Resident Evil type of antagonistic, right? Where you just see dead bodies
Sure.
all over the place and
Yeah, dead
cocooned up
kids
and whatnot. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be horrible.
But I do think that it'll be probably a tone somewhere to something you'd find on a Cartoon Network or something like that. Um,
It'll be interesting to
the
see.
after school time.
I think it's probably a good idea. Like, you're just going to get more people interested in the game and vice versa, right? If you, like, double down on a franchise like that, if you target it well and it's made well, like, I could imagine people seeing that on a Cartoon Network and coming over to the game because they already have Game Pass and they're playing their Fortnites and Fall Guys or whatever and they fancy something new.
Yeah, especially if it's done well, right? Because
Sure.
I think you have to remember, like, the reason Pokemon has something like Pokemon stayed the behemoth it has been isn't just because the games are enjoyable, it's because the TV show is consistently a success with little kids. So if you get grounded to be good, even if it's not going to have the lasting power of Pokemon, but if you get grounded the TV show to work and be a hit with kids, kids will go and play the game.
100%.
So it is a marketing strategy that definitely could work. And I'd love to see this approach with like more stuff. We've seen not that I want to give Konami any credit, but we've seen them do that with Castlevania on Netflix and stuff like that.
Sure.
And I'd love.
Sorry, go on.
Go ahead.
I was going to say we're in the loop. We're in the loop. I was going to say
all you.
When Sony bought Destiny, when Sony bought Bungie, sorry, they said that Destiny was a franchise they wanted to basically do this with for TVs and movies and stuff like that. So it seems to make sense that these video game companies are branching out and not just using their franchises in video games.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because games do have these really big universes. Like I could see something like Elden Ring, which notoriously has Elden Ring probably has a more direct story, but I could see any of the Souls games really having their own sort of TV show or movie series or something like that pre-Calamity or like about the show without being directly tied in. And I'd love to see more stuff like that expanding on a lot of these games and sort of just living in those universes and not a one-to-one retelling. Because I think that's where a lot of game movies fail is when they try to do a one-to-one retelling instead of like, hey, here's the world, here's the universe you guys like so much, and we're going to tell it in our own little corner of this universe.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, Detective Pikachu is like a great example of that, and I'm sure there are plenty of others that I can't think about right now. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think I don't know if I'd be excited for a Souls movie or TV. I mean, maybe if they were like, hey, it's going to be like fucking Game of Thrones, and like you say, it's before we're leading into one of the games.
Yeah, so you don't have that sort of like abstract Miyazaki-ness to the game, right? It is a little bit more like down to earth and something followable. I think it could definitely be done, especially with like Elden Ring, because the way that whole story plays out and like almost every villain is at one point was a normal person and stuff like that is like, I feel like that would be followable and that would be doable, but not to say that they would do it. I think it would still be a difficult task because that game gets really out there at certain points.
Sure. Well, moving on to the next story then. Bandai Namco confirms it's been hacked by a ransomware group. This comes from IGN. Earlier in the week, a ransomware group called ALPHV? ALV? Sure, whatever. Claimed to have ransomed Bandai Namco, suggesting that it had acquired some confidential files. Now, in a statement provided by VGC, the Pac-Man, Tekken, and Dark Souls publisher has confirmed that it was indeed hacked. On July 3rd, 2022, Bandai Namco Holdings Inc. confirmed that it had experienced an unauthorized access by a third party to the internal systems of several group companies in Asia, excluding Japan. Bum, bum, bum. What does it mean, Crash? Is it a big deal? Do we care?
I don't think we care.
It's a shame that we don't care.
Yeah. Well, we don't know what was. I feel like with ransomware stuff, it's like people care before a game comes out.
Sure.
Or if there's a product that's being made and like it gets delayed because of a situation like this. Or their information's been stolen.
And that's what I was
Which
going to say. It like if this was like a Ubisoft, where I feel like every time I try to boot up a Ubisoft game, it wants all of my information, including my mother's maiden name and the date of birth of my unborn children, then I'd be more concerned. But like Elden Ring, don't want shit from me.
Yeah,
I'm just in.
So good, but
They know
it
I
is,
completed the game in 140 hours and called my character Little Fix. Like, I'm okay with it, you know?
Yeah, it is a shame that this happened, and I feel like ransom hacked and hacks for studios has been going up lately quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what would be it's not my I have no clue what they could do to sort of stop this type of stuff, but it is very unfortunate to see.
Yeah, it sucks. But yeah, there's no silver lining. I was going to say maybe they increase the security, and that's great for them. But fuck these people. Fuck these ransomware people, not Bandai Namco. You guys are doing a great job.
Fuck you guys for getting hacked.
Yeah. It's like some kid falls off a climbing frame, breaks their leg. Like, fuck you for falling off the climbing frame. Fuck you for breaking your leg, piece of shit. Get better. But maybe they will get better, and now next time they won't get hacked.
They will. Hopefully.
Did they? Have you read this story? Did they give in to the ransom thing? They must have. They must have paid the ransom.
What they said and what the statement in like full says, essentially they're assessing the situation for right now. Which means they could have paid the ransom and not told people, but they're like trying to figure out what was stolen and whatnot to see what exactly their next move should be. I do know that a lot of gaming companies choose not to pay the ransom.
Yeah.
I assume that when
terrorists.
Yeah, we don't negotiate with terrorists. I wonder if like the gaming companies that get hacked and we don't find out that they were taken for ransom are the only ones that pay it. It's like whenever we hear about somebody, it's like, we don't want to pay this, and they're like, cool, we're gonna let everybody know that we got some of your shit.
We only hear about the ones that go south.
My tinfoil hat theory.
One day I'll get myself a tinfoil hat. I'll be able to afford it. Next up, Soulframe is the next-gen game from Warframe's Digital Extremities. Extremes? Digital Extremes?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Soulframe is the next-gen game from Warframe's developers, and is the new project that is inspired by Studio Ghibli's Princess
Mononoke.
Thank you very much. Looks to be the mirror universe version of Warframe set in a fantasy world. As reported by the Washington Post, Soulframe was announced during TennoCon 2022 and is being led by Steve Sinclair, the director of Warframe, who is stepping down from his current role to help bring this new adventure to life. Crash, are you excited for Soulframe? I
am partly excited. I liked Warframe. I played Warframe, and it was a game that I enjoyed. I like the idea of them making a Soulframe type of game set in a fantasy universe and stuff like that. But this is supposed to rely more on like melee combat and stuff like that, and Warframe guns and things like that. And this is supposed to be slower paced, so there's a lot of stuff that's changing from Warframe that it's like I'm interested in it, but I don't know if it'll be any good because there's changing so many parts of the formula that worked for Warframe to know that if they can do it. I trust them. They obviously made something that's lasted for a good while. They do conventions every year for their games and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting one, right? Warframe is one of those games that's never really grabbed me. I think I played it on Switch. Did it come to Switch at some point? Did I try it on Switch? Or am I mistaken? I may be, but I'm sure I put like at least an hour into it, and I was just like, this is just so not for me. But you're right, like they have that core fan base. They clearly built something very impressive with Warframe, and it constantly gets updates, and people are very excited for those updates when they come along. And so if they're just using that foundation to now build a brand new game, that, like you say, is quite different, right? And will attract a new and different audience. And sure, some people will leave Warframe for it, but I would imagine Warframe continues strong after this. And now they have Soulframe as well, and maybe that brings in a whole new audience and attracts a whole new type of player. But they have that backbone of that looter. Of course, this won't be a shooter, but that looter-shooter kind of framework that they built with Warframe.
Yeah, it did come to the Switch, so that is probably where you played it. Probably not the best place to experience
Almost definitely not. Almost definitely not.
I do think one benefit of them making another looter type game is that a lot of people complain about dry spots in these type of games, Destiny and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like you have this patch where content's not coming out, and realistically, content takes time. So to expect stuff to come out 24/7 is
Of
unrealistic.
course.
But with this, hopefully, they could get people who are into their games in general, and it's like, okay, on the off season of Warframe, I'm playing Soulframe, and vice versa,
Yeah, yeah.
and it keeps people engaged in somewhat of a singular community, as well as it just gives people to give you money all year round.
Sure. So clearly they're building a bit of a Frame franchise here, if you like, with Warframe and now Soulframe. What will the next Frame game be, Crash? That's what I want to know from you. What will the next?
Psychedelic Frame, where you just take a whole bunch of drugs and go on a trip in a game.
I like it. My brain was Auto Frame, and it's a car racing looter shooter.
Oh,
somehow.
Forza, but you destroy the other cars and take
Sure.
some pieces from them. Yeah, I like that.
Forza Frame. They'll get away with
Forza
that.
Frame.
No problem
Yeah,
at all.
Microsoft won't sue them, right?
Yeah, no worries at all. I'm sure that'll be totally fine. Jumping in there into Fixer's sack, we asked for questions this week, and it looks like we got a fair few because we thought it was a light news week. We've been still going for a while, but we're good. I do have to get out of here in a little bit, but we'll be fine. Don't worry about it. BT Maverick 707 said, "Hey, what's up, my dudes? Want to serve up a question that's not from Squid Girl or Origin Cookie Man." Wow. Well, there it is. Deep cuts. We appreciate Sarah Squid. Squid Girl? That threw me off. It's Sarah Squid. That's who that.
It's Sarah Squid.
Yeah. So I'm curious, with the new Microsoft Netflix partnership deal, Microsoft helping Netflix to roll out new ad tier streaming services, in what ways could Xbox benefit from this partnership, and could this be leading to another humongous Microsoft purchase? Microsoft purchasing Netflix would be wild.
I don't think it's gonna happen.
I don't think Microsoft can purchase Netflix. I don't think Netflix are in a place where they want to be selling.
Even if they were, Netflix is worth, I think, 84 billion when I checked, or something like that, or was it 8 billion? I'm a double check that, but
Double
still,
check that. I would have thought it'd be 84. If the options are 8 or 84,
yeah.
I would have thought it'd be 84.
No, I'm pretty sure it's 84. But it's Netflix notoriously loses money year after year. That for Microsoft to buy them as opposed to going into partnership's fine. You get all the benefits, maybe some money exchanges hands or whatever. But to buy them is a very, very not, I would assume, not smart thing. Like, you have Microsoft going into Game Pass and stuff like that, and maybe there is a vision for them where, like, we get Game Pass, we get Netflix, we put them together in a bundle.
Yeah.
Maybe you throw the Office 365 or whatever into a bundle as well for $60.
Yeah. So I can make a spreadsheet of all my Netflix and Game Pass games that I need to play.
That is literally the only way I see it, where they're like, we have a premium monthly subscription service where you can get your work done, you can enjoy TV, and you can play your games, and they sort of hit all the fronts with it.
How about this, Crash? Put your little tinfoil hat on for me for a second. How about this? Well, first of all, did you get the number? Was it 84 million?
This says as of July 22nd, it is 93 billion.
Chump change for Microsoft. We already know that. Chump change.
They could afford it, absolutely.
They'll find it down the back of the sofa cushions. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's going to happen either. But how about this? Put your tinfoil hat on. There becomes a subscription service, which is Game Pass and Netflix. And on the Netflix app, in Netflix app, is also the cloud gaming app. And the games that they've added to Netflix are available through cloud gaming as well.
I like that idea.
That was a long pause. Sorry, buddy.
I like the idea. I don't know. Part of me is like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. But just because it makes sense, would it be a good thing?
Sure.
I don't know.
Game Pass, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure, at least when Disney Plus first came out, I think it's still a thing. If you're on Game Pass, you get like 3 months of Disney Plus for free. I think that's like a rolling perk. A month?
8 months.
Well, something like that could definitely happen.
Yeah, something like that, absolutely. Well, that's what I'm saying, but that could be done in a partnership. Even the game feature, if Netflix wanted to do like, oh, if you have this subscription for another thing, you can use it through our program or whatever. The game feature could happen through that, right? There's a lot of stuff you can do in a partnership that you might not be able to do in a direct purchase, or that not that you can't do in a direct purchase, but like the cost of that is buying the company completely. And I just don't see Netflix being worth it. But I'm also not a business guy. I'm not Microsoft. I'm not Phil Spencer. Not that this decision would come on to Phil Spencer.
No,
It would be who's
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates, good old Bill would have to come down and be like, yeah, we're buying Netflix. It would be a very, very costly thing, and it would be something that makes sense for the whole of Microsoft as opposed to just the gaming division. And I think this decision would go far beyond just the gaming. There would be no reason to buy them just to benefit the gaming sector.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think actually, like obviously we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. We don't know what the actual conversations are that's happening. But I would have thought that Netflix get more out of this than Xbox do, through their like technology that Xbox have been building with cloud services and all the rest of it. And Netflix are obviously dominant in video streaming and their sort of TV apps. So I think well designed, especially when compared to the competition of like Prime and iPlayer over here and stuff. They're just fucking garbage apps. But yeah, I think there's a lot to be gained from both. But I would have thought with the sort of technology and backing and size that Microsoft is, how long they've been in the game with their subscription services as well, like I would have thought there's a lot to offer here.
Yeah, you also have to remember, like Sony works with Microsoft as well for their servers, for the Azure servers. So like clearly, like whether you view Microsoft as competition or whatever the case is, when it comes to streaming and things like that, like Microsoft's the people you are going to go and talk to.
100%.
So I think this deal makes sense in a lot of ways that exclude Microsoft looking to buy them. I feel like we're in this weird spot whenever Microsoft does anything with another company, everybody's like, Microsoft's looking to buy them. And
Yeah.
gamers in particular are like, Microsoft's looking to buy them to make a game.
Yeah.
They're buying Netflix to make a little end game, a red end game, and a Stranger Things open world MMO and stuff like that, right? That's the
Well,
decision with all this.
That's what I was going to ask you. So if you were, let's pretend this partnership goes ahead and it's perfect, it's exactly as I imagine it to be. One franchise from Xbox goes to Netflix for a series, and one Netflix franchise comes to Xbox for a game. What do you want those to be, Crash?
That's for a series. I was
Or a
gonna
movie.
say,
Could be a
I was gonna
Netflix
say
movie.
Halo. Netflix movie. I would love a Gears of War movie, but
That's
I
cool.
just really like Gears of War in general.
Yeah.
And I feel like Gears of War is more ground level, where with Halo you have all the space and sci-fi elements. With Gears of War, I feel like you could get away with a lot of stuff with practical effects as opposed to
I mean,
CGI.
I mean, you look at the freaking CGI budget on Stranger Things. Like they ain't afraid to throw around that cash. Like you say,
Yeah.
maybe they ain't making any money every year, but you can see where the money's going at least. But yeah.
Yeah, so I think that would be cool. And as
Okay.
far as Netflix series coming to Xbox, the only Netflix series I can think of off the top of my head, and I know there's more that I've watched and seen, is Stranger Things. I can't think of anything else off the top.
I don't think Stranger Things will make a massively entertaining game, if I'm honest with you. My initial thought was, and this is mad because to conceive this into a game would be fucking mental. Love, Sex and Robots, which is like an anthology animation series where every episode is completely different, but they all tell these like kind of dystopian, unique, apocalyptic stories, or maybe not even apocalyptic, but unique stories in different animation styles and like do really crazy different things. And so it'd be like an anthology series for Game Pass like that. I think would be really fucking cool, but a lot of hard work.
Yeah, I feel like most of the stuff that would come from Netflix Netflix to Xbox, if that sort of partnership were to ever be made, would be something to the effects of Until Dawn. Like I could see an Until Dawn type Stranger Things type of game and stuff like that.
They did an episode of Black Mirror with Netflix because I think now Netflix own Black Mirror, but they did an episode of that called Bandersnatch, which was choice driven a Netflix show.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that could happen, but I'm looking at some of the franchises here, and I don't think that a lot of them really fit being on
Mm.
Xbox. And there's also like the Umbrella Academy Netflix TV show. I don't think Netflix actually owns Umbrella Academy.
Yeah, I don't.
If
I think you're
I'm
right.
not mistaken, it's a comic book before it was
Mm.
a TV show. Narcos, the Kissing Booth. I don't know what the Kissing Booth is, but
Me
that'd
neither.
make a great
But it
game.
sounds like a great game.
Yeah, Ozark and stuff like that. I don't think a lot of these translate into games. I think what Netflix was doing was the Marvel stuff. I feel like a lot of those might have translated into good games, but that's Marvel, and that would be we've
That's
talked
gone.
about making Marvel games. Yeah. Um. So yeah, I don't know how much would work going the other way.
Well, we will see what happens with the old partnership. Who knows? Who knows? Next question from have we decided how to say this name? Have we been told how to say
Dova
this name?
Targaryen.
Dover Targaryen. What a phenomenal name. I hope that's a real name.
No, the first part's from Skyrim. The second part's from Game of Thrones.
Now I'm upset. I'm going to pretend it's a real name. Dover Targaryen says, do you think it would be a good idea for Microsoft to introduce a new subscription tier for Game Pass that includes all DLC for any game on Game Pass, like Game Pass Plus? For an extra $5 or $10 a month, you can get Game Pass Ultimate Plus, any DLC for past and future games, all included in your subscription. Also, I don't think you guys answered this question, but if you did, please do let me know. We didn't. We've had many a discussion on the podcast and on the live streams about what DLC is versus what an expansion is versus what should be included in Game Pass, what shouldn't, what is, what isn't. And quite frankly, it's a gray area that upsets me every time we talk about it.
Yeah, you're the only one upset by it.
I'm furious. When I found out that Hot Wheels expansion won't come to Game Pass,
Of course
absolutely
it
sounded
wasn't.
raging. What do you mean, of course it wasn't?
Of course it wasn't. Look, even if they had this service, the Hot Wheels one in particular would not come to the service because you have to pay for the licensing.
But we don't with fucking Top Gun on fucking Flight Sim.
It's Flight Sim.
Fucking what is the difference between Flight Sim and Forza?
It's a big difference.
There's no difference.
There is a very big difference between Top Gun and Legos.
It ain't Lego, it's Hot Wheels.
Hot Wheels, same difference. There's
Are
a
they
big
owned
difference.
by Lego? They
between
might
those
be
two.
owned by Lego. I might be wrong.
Probably not. I get that wrong. I'm pretty sure last time we talked about this as well, I said Legos instead of Hot Wheels. I think there is a difference innately because Hot Wheels sells toys. Top Gun's like, hey, look, we're all official. We're in a flight sim. We're all this stuff. It makes them seem more grand, I guess.
Does anybody
Whereas
give a fuck about Hot Wheels anymore?
does anybody care about Top Gun?
I mean, it was one of the greatest movies
And
of the past 10 years. But
Hot Wheels are one of the best toys in the past 100 years. Okay, Matt.
Forza is doing Hot Wheels the favor. It's not the other way
That's
around.
not true. That's actually not true. I think you'd actually be surprised. Why do you always do this, Matt? You get in these pockets and you undervalue things so hard.
Hot Wheels got to be worth like
Little
25
kids-
quid to buy as a company,
Up-
as a brand. 25,000.
I want you to work out a deal where you can buy Hot Wheels and come on next week and just be like, well, now I own Hot Wheels.
And guess
getting
what?
a
I've made it
DLC
free.
for free.
I've made it free. Yeah, absolutely. No, I don't see the difference here between the Flight Sim expansions that have been coming for free in Game
Because
Pass and
The flight sim was just a plane, if I'm not mistaken.
probably, yeah, I think you're right.
This is much more than a plane.
It's a car.
It's like significantly. It's not just a
All right,
car.
I
It's the
get
whole
it,
tracks
I
and
get
stuff.
it. I get it.
It's more work.
Would you pay extra if they said, hey, all of your DLC for all of your Game Pass games is going to come free in Game Pass now from now on if you could pay some extra?
No,
No, me neither.
I don't want that monthly fee. I'd rather like a Gears of War expansion or whatever it is comes out. I'd rather pay the $15 to $20, or even if it's like 30, as
Yeah.
opposed to having the continuing price.
I think as well.
'Cause it's
Like,
also
so go on.
third-party games wouldn't be included in that or guaranteed. That'd be
Yeah.
a whole nother deal that Microsoft has to work out, and that's
Sure.
a whole other logistic that I don't know if a $5 to $10 a month price would cover what Microsoft would need to pay for like I don't know what games getting an expansion that would be worth mentioning. I was
Outriders.
gonna mention I was gonna mention Outriders, but I'm like, I don't know if if that falls.
For me, that's kind of an example of it, right? Like of being like, I know we said third-party games won't be included, and I understand that, but let's say Outriders was a part of this. For me, it's like when the expansion comes out, and I think like, do I want to play more of that game? More often than not, the answer is no. Kind of because of the way Game Pass is built. Like, there's been another 50 things on Game Pass at this point that have taken me away from Outriders, and I don't want to go back.
Yeah, and then you also get the problem if like a new game comes out and there's an expansion, you might not be able to play every expansion that pops up on that aspect of game without playing the base game and finishing the base game.
Yeah.
So it's also a question of like, there's just so many. I think that's a really hard thing to market, even if Microsoft were to decide to do something like that. That I think Microsoft would rather just say like, "Hey, this expansion's coming to Game Pass this month." Because I do think like I don't know about the Hot Wheels thing, but like the Gears of War expansion came out and it was included in Game Pass after a while.
Oh, was it? Okay, interesting.
Yeah. The only thing with the Hot Wheels one, again, is the licensing is the only reason I don't think that actually happened with the Hot Wheels. But for most of them, they do end up on Game Pass down the line. It's just if you want to play them right away, fork over the money.
Sure, I understand. So, next question then, Origin Cookie Man's asked 2 questions. With Xbox insiders now being able given access to Halo Infinite co-op and the public release imminent, will there be a second life with a fully charged overshield for the franchise? Will this bring people back? Are we excited for it?
With the franchise or for the game? Because I think those are 2 different.
Yeah, I don't think the franchise needs a kick. I think the game needs a kick.
Yeah. And also, like, I don't think co-op would be the thing to, like, revive the franchise. I think Halo Infinite got about as close as you would to get to reviving it. But Halo Infinite also showed that people still care and want a good Halo experience.
For sure. Look, anecdotally, and this is not, fucking scientific mainstream proof or whatever, but my mates who are pretty casual, like, unprompted by me, put the screenshot in the chat of like, oh, fuck, we need to sign up to Insiders so we can play co-op. Like, and they found that in themselves, and like, they're not super into the industry and stuff in the way I am. Like, they're pretty in, but they're not like, the certain we are. And they found that, and they're excited for that, and they're keen to get back in. So
there you go.
Take
That's the answer. I do think it'll breathe a second life into Halo Infinite, and I think it'll get a third life whenever Forge comes out. Oh, I can't wait for Forge to drop.
Forge could be the one, couldn't it? I think like, because what you're gonna see is game modes coming that people are excited to play in party game modes, and like streamers are gonna be excited for it, and it's that will really give it a new life, I think.
I just want to point out a lot of the stuff people love with Fall Guys, the survival aspect and stuff. A lot of that stuff, the first time it appeared in a game, was a Halo game.
For sure.
In the custom game modes.
For sure.
And I think that gets very uncredited to Halo, and particularly the people who made it, because it's not even like Bungie that did that. It is community members who went around and messed around in Forge mode and made a whole bunch of custom maps and custom game modes.
Yeah, and depending on how deep, I can't wait for a deep dive into Forge, that we see a load of it. Like, what is the player count that I'm going to be allowed to make a game for? Like 60? Probably not. 40?
Yeah, that could be huge.
If it goes to that sort of level and somebody builds a BR, it's like, fucking, you're done. You didn't have to do it. Somebody beat you to it 343. And like I've said time and time again, somebody is going to beat them to it, and it's going to be great, and people are going to love it. That's what happened with Griffball. Griffball was a community-made thing that got brought into the game and has been in all Red vs. Blue. Rooster Teeth.
The zombie mode as well. I forget. Infection.
Yeah,
exactly. Infecting was a community game mode. And a lot of the stuff is community game modes. Yeah. So it'll be cool to see when that happens, once they start coming out with game modes like that, and if Bungie will decide to start making a curated list of content as well. I think that would be interesting if they're like, okay, these game modes really work. We're gonna sort of promote these to the front page and try and get more people into these fun game modes, because I think that would be really dope as well.
If you're watching at home and you want to start what I think would be relatively successful YouTube channel, do a weekly show where you're like, hey, check out these fucking Forge game modes, because they're fucking awesome.
Yep.
There's some free business advice for you. Origin Cookie Man, another question. In an alternate universe, listeners are tuning into their favorite weekly podcast, My Xbox and Me. However, all of the hosts have been replaced by characters from computer games. What a crazy world in which we live. Which 3 characters will host the alternative universe podcast, and why? Well, we have to come up with Fixer's character first. Who's going to replace Fixer?
Parappa the Rapper.
Parappa the Rapper.
Parappa the Rapper. There's no debates
Parappa the
necessary.
Rapper hosting a Xbox podcast in this alternative universe.
why not?
Parappa the Rapper was on Xbox then.
PlayStation wasn't treating him right.
Right.
Yeah, PlayStation wasn't treating him right. He's in his own autonomous being. PlayStation wasn't treating him right. Microsoft, Xbox went and offered him the bigger contract. We see people
Wow.
leaving Twitch for YouTube. It'd be the same situation.
Huge. That'd be a huge news story. Like he did like a ninja where he did that like fake press conference and was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm going to Mixer.
He did a whole live show.
Yeah,
There
in
was a
this
track about it and
alternative
everything.
universe, he left YouTube to go to Mixer, and Mixer's
Yeah.
still huge. So it's a wild, crazy multiverse that we're
Yeah,
building out. I'm
exactly.
excited for it. Who should replace me then, Crash?
You
I'm thinking this guy.
the
I'm
main
thinking-
character from Artful Escape.
No,
Crash?
I'm thinking Crash.
Are we gonna just have a whole
A whole
Are we
Sony
gonna-
team
are we
that
just
have
gonna have a
betrayed
whole-
Sony.
my Xbox and me just a Sony character? Oh, Sony wasn't treating them right.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, technically that is Xbox property now, so I can't even say that. So yeah, you could be
Exactly.
Crash. Sure, why not?
This is what I'm saying. I'm Crash Bandicoot. I got bought over from Sony to Xbox. And I'm okay with it. I'm pretty happy about it.
and who would I be, Matt?
Obviously, Marcus Phoenix.
There you go. I'd be
No,
Marcus
no,
Phoenix.
no explanation needed. That's it. We're done.
There you go. That's the alternate universe My Xbox and Me podcast. Parappa the Rapper, Crash Bandicoot, Marcus Phoenix. I don't know who would want to listen to that.
Fix is gonna listen to this week's podcast. He's gonna like skip through, and he's gonna come to this section and be like, "I should not have let them fucking do it on their own."
That should not have happened.
He should
Well,
not.
it's decided now. He's
Shouldn't have gone
Parappa
on
the
an
Rapper.
impromptu.
Next
birthday
week when
holiday.
he's here, we have to refer to him as Parappa.
just to see if he listened to the podcast.
Yeah, and see how he reacts to that. He's
Yeah.
gonna be confused. I
He
can
won't have a
guarantee you.
He won't have a clue.
Yeah.
Final question this week, and then we will get ourselves out of here. From Luke Alderslayer, what should be more the focus of Game Pass going forward? Quantity or quality? Right now, it seems like we're leaning more towards quantity. Wondered what you guys thought. Great question.
This is kind of a mixed bag because I think if you get just quality but not enough stuff coming out, that's not the move. And if you get too much quantity but no quality, I think that's another issue. I do think we're in this weird spot. We've talked about it so much on this podcast, but a lot of the stuff Xbox had been hoping to be out by this point obviously got delayed.
Yeah.
And so that affects what is on Game Pass. So some of those quality type of games that we would have liked to have seen by now aren't there. And it's rough to say this because I feel like we say this every time we talk about Game Pass in this sort of regard, is like we have to wait to see how it is when Xbox studios start putting out their games. But I think that really is what we have to wait for. I would like to see more quality on the service, obviously, but I think there is some quality as well. As Duskfall is getting reviewed well by some people. IGN gave it a 9. You could argue that's quality, right?
Yeah.
I feel like there are noticeable drops a game or two whenever they do the big bunch of drops that people are like, oh, that's a good game. And that stand out amongst the rest. So I do think there is quality there. I would love to see a little bit more quality, but it is what it is.
It's an interesting one, right? And people talk about this as well in content creation. And there's an interesting sort of philosophy in that of like quality is subjective. This week, Peppa Pig came to Game Pass. We would not describe that as quality, but a parent who wants to sit their kid in front of the TV very well might, and that kid very well might describe that as quality content. And so because quality is subjective, the only thing you can really push for is quantity. That's a very sort of easy statement to make, and not necessarily sort of concrete. But I think, yeah, I think quantity is kind of more important in this game than quality is.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be getting Persona on Game Pass. That's huge. We got all of Yakuza on Game Pass. Quality. Like, there are a lot of quality experiences, and you have to remember a lot of those quality experiences, while they aren't new, are there for lengthy periods of time.
Yeah.
So if you go onto Game Pass, there are numerous quality games, and just because they aren't new and coming out weekly doesn't mean that you can sort of detract those from Game Pass going forward because you've had it for as long as you have. I understand the sentiment, and I feel like that. I felt like that. I think we had a conversation like a little while ago where I was kind of questioning whether I should keep Game Pass going.
Yeah.
So I fully understand the sentiment, but I think to judge Game Pass as a service, you have to judge everything available on it, as well as obviously what's new and what gets added should be accounted for. But I don't think it's the only thing to be looking at for the service.
Yeah, and I think as well it's easier here in this discussion to quantify quality with length. Like every game that I've talked about that I played in the last 2 weeks are short games. Road 96 is a short game. It's probably a 5-hour game. Escape Academy, like at 4 or 5 hours. Even Tunic, probably 15 maybe hours. None of them like these massive Elden Ring, God of War like experiences, but still without doubt quality. And so, yeah, Xbox are just trying to keep people on that service.
Like what we've gotten this month, we've gotten 3 Yakuza games. We've gotten the Road 96, which I've heard great things about, not only from Fix but other people. Matt talked about it as well. Paw Patrol and Peppa Pig both are huge for kids, whether you view that as quality or not, is kids would love those games and it adds value to the service.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the games that I'm seeing here also cover different type of genres that people are interested in.
Yeah.
Watch Dogs 2 comes out. It came out yesterday, as Dust Falls came out yesterday as well. So there are quality games being added. The question is, are those quality games for you? That's a completely different conversation.
And I think as well, like look at something like a Netflix, right? That like is trying to battle with that line as well, right? Between quantity and quality. I mean, I think Netflix put out like something crazy like 20 Christmas movies last year. None of which were particularly well received. Maybe 1 or 2 were. And that's like kind of a good example of like, they're just trying to keep people on the service. Like that's all they actually care about, is keeping people on the service and providing you with something. And Netflix might have a Stranger Things and one other thing that hits the zeitgeist each year. And if Xbox can keep that cadence up as well, great. We had Halo, we had Forza, we're getting a new Forza. Like, as does Forza, like, and stuff like that is like the lower level of that. But if we get one of those tentpole franchises a year, I think that's what we're going to get, and I think that's good enough. Good enough for me.
Yeah. Honestly, like, as far as Game Pass goes, the quantity is the reasoning for the quality. And what I mean by that is that you need the quantity there to keep people on the platform and to keep that money coming in for you to add the quality to the platform.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have... If all they did was release nothing but quality titles, would people really be like... It's a much easier sell when you're like 100+ games as opposed to like 20 really, really good games and you get less releases, because that's what quality entails, because not everybody puts out a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 game.
Yeah, exactly. And like I say, it's so subjective. I've put 15 hours into Power Wash Simulator in the past week and a half. Is it a quality game?
Quality game?
Well, no, but is it providing value for money
in
my
fun?
Subscription service? Yes. Is it fun? Good question.
Quality doesn't always necessarily, or something that lacks quality doesn't necessarily equate to it not being fun. Because as far as, like, you mentioned Christmas movies, my sister loves Christmas movies and she watches them every year. If you ask her if they're good movies, she says no, but I enjoy the movies. And I think the same thing goes to games, maybe even more so to games.
That's a good point.
I talk about playing Smite all the time. Do I think Smite is a great game? Honestly, no, probably not. But I enjoy playing Smite when I do.
Yeah. Outriders Is Outriders a great game? No. Did I have a hell of a lot of fun playing with my mates? 100%. And that's good. Yeah. I understand when people say Game Pass isn't for me. I get it. I totally get it. For me, it is so worth it. Like, all weekend, Emma was ill. We sat here on the couch, downloaded probably 10, 15 games, finished 3 games. Like, we wouldn't do that on PlayStation. Like, I'm not just going to go out and buy... I know they have their own service now, and so there is that option. But I'm not going to go out and just buy 15 games to try 6 and play 3. Like, I'm not going to do that. But fuck yeah, I'm going to do that on Game Pass. Like, the value for money is where it is for me. It's the reason I'm still subscribed and will continue to subscribe. I understand that for some people, it's not the quality. The quality isn't there. But, fuck, it's difficult to argue the quality isn't there when a Halo Infinite comes, when a Forza Horizon comes, when the next Forza comes, when Fable's going to come, when we know Elder Scrolls is going to come, and we know Starfield's going to come. And
Yeah. I mean, some of those games, if you ask certain people, like, there's people that if you ask them if Forza is quality on a service like this, they're going to be like, no, because I'm not going to play it.
Exactly.
So quality really is an incredibly subjective thing. And I think as a whole, I think they do have quality and they're hitting everything they need to hit as a service. On an individual basis, I think the quality question is ultimately goes down to whether you keep it or not. Is there enough quality stuff for you to stay around? And I think that's two really different conversations, in my opinion, to be had there.
I agree. And I'm sure we will continue to have that conversation again and again and again here on My Xbox and Me, because this is your weekly Xbox podcast, out every single Friday without fail. Never missed a week, and that is true, but never missed a Friday? Well, we all know that ain't true. But we're trying.
What's a Friday? Time is made up.
It's a good point, Crash. It's a good point.
Friday.
What is a Friday indeed? Crash, plug, and let's get out of here.
Leave questions for the My Xbox and Me. We've run out of all the questions.
Right. This is partly on us, right? Because we went through like a run of 4 or 5 podcasts where we were like, we can't do all the questions.
Yeah,
we have
and
too many
then we also stopped asking for questions. It's been rough. We got to get back into the swing of things. But if you guys could go and drop questions, that would be fantastic. Also, after you guys listen to this podcast, I really want you guys to just tweet at Fix and call him the Parappa the Rapper with no other context.
He's never gonna let this happen ever again. That's the problem, right? Like, he's so reluctant this time. It's only because it's his birthday and he's going away with the missus and, like, it's a whole thing. He's never gonna let this happen again. If you all start tweeting him with Parappa the Rapper gifts. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do it.
Don't, I didn't say gifts, first of all.
I
just said tweet. You guys do what you want, but you guys should tweet at Fix and just wish him a happy birthday. By the time you guys listen, if you guys didn't wish him a happy birthday, just wish him a happy belated birthday to Parappa the Rapper.
He's gonna kill you. I want it to be known it had nothing to do with me.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for listening. If you did indeed listen all the way through, remember to like the video if you're on YouTube. And even if you're not on YouTube, go to the YouTube and like the video because it helps us out loads. And you know what I saw the other week, Crash, that I'm a bit pissed off about?
What?
Spotify, 11 reviews, 4.6.
Somebody reviewed us a 1-star.
On Spotify?
Yeah, that's the only way it would have went down to 4.6.
If that was you, apologize and go back in and put it to 5. And I'll forgive you. I will forgive all of your sins.
We had a 5-star review on Spotify, no?
For a while, I guess, and then I looked the other day, and it was I went to listen last week because I wasn't on the podcast,
right? And it's 4.6.
It's 4.6. I'm sad about it. So go review us on Spotify. You got to do the. I understand it's hard work, right? Because you got to do the trick where you fake Spotify into thinking that you've listened to all the episodes. You hit the cog, you say I've listened to them all, and then it'll let you review it. I understand that's a lot of steps. It's a lot of clicks. I get it, but Jesus has reviewed us on Spotify like 17 times on 25
He's
different
reviewed us
phones.
on podcast services on Apple.
That's what I meant. Sorry, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
And if he's willing to do that, I believe in you. You can go to the Spotify and do the Spotify.
If you have Spotify, you can do it.
I believe in you. I love you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Fix is very sorry you couldn't be here, but now that he's 30 years old, he's a full-on adult, and he has more important things to do than chat Xbox shit on a podcast. But he will, of course, be back next week.
Yep.
Love you. Bye-bye.